Hey everyone, welcome to the Do the Thing podcast. This is your host, Stacey Lauren. Well, you guys, this is a special day because I have on a guest that is one of those people that you admire, from the far, and you get to see all the work that he's doing and the impact that he's making on the world. And then when you get to talk to him, he's really the most genuine person that you could ever meet and wants to just actually help people with their business and with the things that they're doing. And it's been just so much fun getting to know him. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know him even more in the podcast and having you guys meet him as well. So I am welcoming Bob Serling to the show. Hey, Bob.
Hey, Stacy, thank you so much for that. I'm going to have to record that and steal that. That was the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me. I appreciate it.
Aw. Oh man, it's so true though, because you're so like giving. I mean, every time I've like anytime I'm like pondering something and you're just so generous with being able to help process it and really kind of like moving the needle forward in the things that I've
Oh,
been
well,
doing.
thanks. I think that's what we all are naturally inclined to do for each other. I think that's the best way to be with other people.
So good. Well, okay, so for the listeners, I would love to have you share kind of like more about you, who you are, what you do, but also I want to tap into your do the thing story because you have a powerful one of both how you do the thing and then also how you help others do the thing too.
Okay. So where would you like to start?
Yeah,
With
so
what?
start when you were 5 years old. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
So maybe just tell them what you're doing now and who you're helping and then kind of like
Okay,
where it
so
started. Yeah.
so basically, I have a very diversified background. I started out as a direct response copywriter, and I had the good fortune back in the late 1980s. And I actually had, not only did I have good fortune, but I had hair back then too. So anyway, but I had the good fortune of meeting Gary Halbert. And I actually met him in a social setting. And we got to talking and we got to hanging out and we played volleyball together. He had this beach house. And I started learning. I had already been interested in marketing and I was doing some marketing, but it was in a corporate environment. And I discovered direct response through Gary. And he put me into a peer group of copywriters who were all in the LA area where I lived at the time. And I became a direct response copywriter. So, but after a few years, I noticed that I was giving a lot of stuff away just with no compensation
Hmm.
because my clients would always ask me for advice on things and things that weren't even related to the project I was working on. And so I got the idea that I'd become a consultant. And copywriting is hard and you're alone and you're grinding away. So I switched to consulting and somehow along the line there, I was doing some consulting with a big bank and up in the Los Angeles area, and I discovered licensing through them, which was that they licensed a lot of what they did on the technology side from other companies, especially IBM. And I saw this incredible model where IBM would train like 300 people. And the way they do it,
Mm.
this was back in the days of VHS tapes. They would send you a tape with the training, and you would set up a room with a TV, and you'd also get training booklets, kind of step by step, fill in your notes. And so these banks would put 40, 50 people at a time through the training. And then 2 weeks later, another 40, 50, and they put hundreds of people through. Well, they were paying $3,500 per person back in the early 1990s and putting hundreds of people through. And all IBM was giving them was this tape and they were licensing it to them.
Wow.
When the training was done, you had to send the tape back. And I went, wow, that's an amazing model. So I started playing with that model and I took a number of my most successful marketing campaigns that I'd done for clients and sales letters. And I reached out to other people in adjacent industries because I didn't want to compete directly with my clients. I didn't think that was ethical. But in adjacent industries where they weren't competitors, I said, gee, I wrote this letter. It did X amount, like 400% increase in sales. I can customize it for you in your industry, and I'll charge you just a fraction of what you normally pay. And then the rest you can pay me as royalties out of the profits, which is how licensing works.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of took off. And I got good at doing that. And it was nice. It was great for the clients because they were getting something that was battle tested. And they didn't have to worry, am I going to pay $15,000 and get no results? Because that's what happens with a lot of copy. When you hire a copywriter, you pay the fee and you take the risk.
Mm-hmm.
But this way, they had a very low risk. Instead of 15,000, they were paying me 1,500, and I only got more if it worked. When it did work, I got a lot more, but so did they.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept doing that for a while, and then I got into licensing, and licensing is also what's used in a lot of product development. Probably 30 to 50% of the toys you see in stores or on Amazon, those have all been licensed from inventors. Same thing with most household products, kitchen gadgets, around the average of 30%. And then there's the huge market of character licensing, which is like, putting a little what's the current one? Not Little Princess, but the Moana character on a lunchbox and selling it. Now, I've never done character licensing like that, but I somehow decided, well, I'm going to try licensing some products, which is really kind of professional inventing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pretty successful with that, with a toy that was for a major, major market. It was licensed to a toy company that does $5 billion a year in sales, sold all over the world. And then I helped develop and patent a software suite that was sold and licensed all over the world. So I just kind of was, kind of progressing step by step to different things. And then for a long time, I helped people license their intellectual property. But what I really focus on now is helping people like me. And I think a lot of us find that our natural inclination is to help others like us. So I work primarily with consultants, coaches, and content experts and help them make more sales without having to spend any money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my long do the thing trail and how I ended up here.
Yeah, and I love it. And one of the things I love about this is that you didn't have this plan when you started. You were kind of just you noticed the model, right? When you think, well, first you
Yeah.
noticed copyright, the direct response, then you noticed the licensing, and you're like, oh, hey, that looks really cool. And then it sounds like you got started, and then it evolved along the way to this huge thing that now you could do for people.
Yeah, that's funny, Stacey. It's such a great point because so many people they've got a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan. But it's like the old Mike Tyson saying, he says, every plan goes out the window when you get punched in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's not that I'm against planning because I do try to plan, but I don't adhere rigidly to a plan because I think you miss really exciting opportunities if you get tunnel vision and your plan is all you see. And I'm not saying that you should abandon your plan for the next shiny object, but at the same time, it's like you said, I would notice things that I thought were a lot of fun and
Mm-hmm.
that I could, support my family with. And and I'd give them a try. I wouldn't eliminate everything else. I do it
Yeah.
step by step, but I think it's really important to follow your intuition.
And it sounds like you don't have an attachment to an outcome, at least for that situation as you're birthing the new thing. I'm curious, like, I'd love to hear more about that
Well,
mindset.
it's hard to have an attachment to an outcome because if you don't get the outcome you want, you feel like you failed to some degree.
Mhm.
Whereas the outcome you did get may be the next step you need to something greater. So yeah, that's not saying that I don't have goals and that I don't want to meet them and I hope to meet them, but I also um, I just don't think it's healthy, whether it's in business or in life or in a hobby, to fixate on just one outcome and wrap up your satisfaction, all of it, in that specific outcome. Um,
Yeah, it's so good. It sounds like you are, and I like because I like to get into the mindset behind you and how you're like how you're doing the thing, and you have this really cool way of seeing that whatever the outcome is, it's like almost like what it was supposed to be, you know? And so then it
yeah,
it like then opens the new door for you to
yeah.
continue.
Like I'll give you an example. So years and years ago, I decided that I was going to write a copywriting course and sell it because I had been a successful copywriter. So I wrote it and it sold pretty well. And then I was ready to update it because I was kind of on the cusp of direct marketing and then the internet really taking off. So I needed to update it to also include writing for online emails and online sales pages and the very beginning of VSLs. So I created an outline and then I sent it to a number of my customers who I trust to get their feedback because I'm a big advocate of talking with your customers.
Hmm.
And one of my customers said to me, you know, I like it. I think it's a good idea. But what I'd really like to see is you write a course on how you license stuff.
Mm.
And it never dawned on me. But that's what they wanted. And if I had just been fixed to that one outcome of, no, I'm going to update this copywriting course, I wouldn't have taken his advice. And so then I talked to other customers who I liked and respected and said, what do you think about a licensing course? And they were all very excited. So I ended up creating it, and that course took off. And I met so many people through that.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, half of the people that we mutually know now, I met through having created that course.
Yeah.
So, and that's something I never had any foreshadowing of in my own thinking. I just followed my intuition when people I trusted said, no, this is what I'd really like to see.
I love that. I just did that with somebody recently, a friend of mine. She helps these like companies do major HR, like stuff for
Mm-hmm.
businesses. And
Yeah,
she was telling me how she made like over $100,000 on Upwork selling her HR consulting. And
yeah,
I don't have right now in my audience, I don't have companies that have like massive employees or things like that. They're more like the entrepreneurs that are
right,
and
right.
so I had, for the listeners, they know about the auctions, but basically I have this model where, and I think you know about it too, but where I sell
Sure,
people stuff. And I was like, oh, I want to sell how you made the money on Upwork, not the HR stuff.
exactly.
And yeah, and then we sold it. Every single person in the room bought it. Like it was that good.
Yeah, it's funny because you talk about the aspect of rigidity. I had a client, and I'm going to change the industry some because I don't want to dump on her. I'll tell you later who she is. No. So she was in the fitness industry, but I won't say what aspect of the fitness industry. She had 3 million followers, subscribers to her YouTube channel. Um, I think 2 million on Instagram, and she had a mailing list of 200,000 people, and she had 7,000 people in her membership program. So she was doing really well. So she wanted to take some of her health and fitness and diet ideas and license them to hospitals to help in rehabilitation centers. And she wanted to hire me to help her. And I said, well, I'll consider it. I said, but I don't think you're going to get many takers. I said, there are hospitals, first of all, they have their own people on staff who already do that. Secondly, while you have a great following, you don't have a best-selling book published. So they've never heard of you. I said, where you can really do well, make a lot of money and help a lot of people is package up how you go about building your followings on all these platforms and sell that to other experts, not only in the health field, but any other field. They want to know that. And it's just like you said, it's not, my people don't want HR, and a lot of people, they want to know how you did this.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing. And she declined to do it. And I think, and that's fine because that's not where her heart was, but I think she missed a golden opportunity.
Yeah, no, and I think that goes to the point of what I heard you actually say this the other week, when we were at Speakeasy. For those of you that don't know, that's how Bob and I met, was through an incredible mastermind called Speakeasy, and you were giving advice to one of the members about just in case, yeah, you were giving advice to one of the members about listening to your audience, and being able to hear what they're saying. I'd love to hear kind of your system for that, because this is what we align really well on this.
Sure.
This is my whole thing.
Okay,
is
great.
like so many people are like talking at everyone, but it's like when you're able to like hear from them and listen, it's so powerful.
Okay, so we can talk about it. And also, I have an entire process that I've laid out in a 60-page book, which I give away for free. So we can give that to everybody if you'd like to.
That's amazing.
So
Yes.
this all came about from inventing that toy I told you about that sold all over the world. It was a toy skateboard, a little plastic skateboard that kids play with their fingers. And they're called fingerboards or tech decks for anybody who has kids in the 6 to 12-year-old age group. They're still sold all over the world. Well, this company so there were two companies that did this. There was the original company that did it, and they had designs like thunderbolts and skulls and all this stuff that young boys would like, because that's primarily 95% of that market is boys. And the competitor came along and they said, forget that. We're going to get the licensing rights to the images of the top skateboarders. And that's what we're going to use. We're going to use their names and logos. Like Tony Hawk was one, and World Industries was huge at that time, and 4 or 5 other big companies. So when I was looking at that toy skateboard, because my son played with them all the time, I was thinking, how do I make this thing better so it can sell more? So I came up with an idea, but I came from a marketing background, and I realized that just telling a company that I've got a great idea, they hear that from everybody. Everybody has a great idea. What I did was I made a little model. I bought some toys and I cut them up with a Dremel, and I glued them with a hot glue gun, and I made my little model. And I went around to big skateboard stores here in San Diego, because San Diego is a hotbed of skateboarding. And I said, hey, if I could get a company to produce this, would you buy it? And they said yes. And then I went to major toy stores. There used to be a toy store called Thinker Things that's
Mm.
not around anymore. And there's a big uh, chain here called Geppetto's, if you know Geppetto's.
Hmm.
And I showed it to the owners, and they said, "Oh, yeah, we'd buy it." So then when I went to this company, I said, "Here's my idea, here's the sketch and the model. By the way, these companies want to buy it." I walked out with a deal in 20 minutes because I talked to their customers. Not my idea was solid,
Yeah.
but I didn't come in touting my idea. I came in when I said these stores all want to buy it. Number one, they knew I wasn't lying. I'd be an idiot to lie because they could check with any of them, which they did. And not only that, but he picked up the phone and he called the buyer at Target, which was the second largest toy seller in the country at the time. It's now the third largest. But he said, "Hey, I've got this. I'm going to fax you." That was in the day of fax. You wouldn't send an attachment by email. "I'm going to fax you this. Tell me if you would order it if we produce it." 3 minutes later, the buyer says, she gets online, says, "Oh, we like it a lot. Yeah, we'd buy it." So I walked out of there in 20 minutes with a contract. And
Hmm.
then the thing sold all over the world. But the lesson is that your customers know much more about what they want than you ever will.
Hmm.
And if you talk to your customers, they will significantly, the feedback you get from them, listening to them, will significantly improve your offer, your product or service, your copy, your positioning, everything. Because now you're speaking in their language to the real wants and needs that they have, not to the wants and needs that you might think they have. And most companies make the big mistake of creating their products, services, and marketing based on an avatar that they create and then trying to figure out what features and benefits will be attractive to that avatar. But I always say that, no sale starts with an avatar. It starts with a person, a real live person. And if you talk to people, you're miles ahead of the game. And that's basically what I was telling Jim.
This is so good. I love timing and like synchronicities too, because I'm on chapter 20 of my book, my first book
Oh, I
called,
thought you were going to tell me
yeah.
you're inventing a skateboard toy.
And the book is called Do the Thing, Have a People Party. And this is literally like one of the playbooks in the book is how important it is to gather people around a goal. And one of the people parties that I love doing is like client appreciation, getting to know your community, and it's
Hmm.
virtual or in person. And if you don't mind, I'd love to include some of our conversation quoting you in the book.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. It's such great timing because I'm literally like, I have one more chapter left. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to definitely include some of this. And maybe we could talk about that because I know you've been also helping me kind of bring my stuff out in the world. So my system specifically is a people party, which
Hmm.
again, you could change the name, whatever group, it's more
Sure.
of internal language. It's a specific system to help create
Well, I
psychological,
wouldn't I wouldn't change it now. That name's
yeah.
really caught on and people resonate with it.
Oh,
So
thank you. Thank you.
don't
Um,
change what
it
works.
it kind of depends because I was thinking when I start going to corporate, because I see that I could eventually bring this into companies. I don't know if it'll resonate
Mhm.
as much, but the idea behind it is it's basically it teaches people how to create a gathering space and
Mhm.
create psychological safety so that they will be able to share their feelings, their thoughts, their
Right.
contributions. And just curious if you have any thoughts on even that, like kind of like because I use that as a model right now with people
Sure.
to get
Well,
to know
two
them.
things.
Yeah.
First of all, when you do go to corporate, I would rename it.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I had a client who was doing about almost $3 million a year in sales of aluminum trays that you cook in, that you bake in, that you roast in, that you make muffins in, and all this stuff. And they were they kept running into problems is that people would order and they wouldn't be paying attention. And then when they went to check out, so they'd order maybe, 10 tins, uh, 10 baking tins, and they go to check out and the bill was like $430. And they go, what are you talking about? These things are $3 each or $2 each.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they sold both to individual homemakers and cook hobbyists, but they also sold to businesses, caterers and food halls and things. So people would check a commercial quantity when they wanted an individual quantity.
Ah.
So I said, well, and they kept running into it, and people were threatening them and giving them bad reviews on Yelp and all this stuff. I said, well, the answer or the solution is simple. You split it into two companies. You have
Mm.
one company for the consumer and another for corporate.
I love that.
So they had different appeals. And it's the same thing. People Party is a great name for individuals who want to make greater connection and deeper connection with other people like them. But that name won't necessarily resonate at a corporate level. So you just start a separate version of it. All the same principles, but with a different name so you avoid the confusion.
I love that. Oh, it's so good. I know as you're talking, I'm like, oh, I could call it because it helps people create interactive trainings. It helps people get clients. Anyway, my mind's going. You'll have to.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but the overall concept is my office is haunted. My printer just started on its own.
Oh, really? Oh, funny.
That could be my next career. I could, clear people's home offices of the ghosts that
There you
start their
go.
printers.
Yeah.
Okay, so but people, and I think especially as there's more AI in everything, and it's more of a threat. And also when you layer that on top of what happened with the pandemic, where more people work out of a home office, people are they're craving connection with others and
Hmm.
authentic relationships. And I think your timing was absolutely impeccable at identifying that and servicing that need. And I think in the corporate world, um, it can be even more important because most high level executives, C level and senior managers, they're afraid of looking bad. They're afraid of
Mm.
making the wrong decision. And it's lonely and it's stressful. And so I think a lot of them, if they had a forum where they could talk without the judgment and meet others and even work together on projects
Hmm.
and even have permission to be wrong, because I worked a lot in the corporate world with the toys and this other software suite I developed, and one of the biggest things I saw was well, the drinking vodka is really helpful as early in the day as you can. um, was that I hated dealing with companies that made decisions by committee
Hmm.
because nobody wanted to take responsibility, primarily because they were afraid of being wrong. And if they were wrong, that, things would go out the window. Um, and that's just a horrible way to live. Richard Branson has a great quote, which I'm going to botch, but I'm going to paraphrase it, which is something like, the brave may not live forever, but those who live in fear don't really live at all, or
Mm.
something like that.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's always stuck with me. And I just saw so much of that in the corporate world where, they were always looking at each other and everybody dressed identically almost, except the tie color changed for the men on one day and the slacks color changed for the women on another day. And there was so much, and I know it's changed some, but there's still that mentality of you better not be wrong. And that's a hard place to have to live from.
Hmm. Yeah, and especially when you spend majority of your time there, like for
Yeah,
people that work there. Yeah, because I owned a staffing company for 20 years, and all of a sudden the epiphany of like, wait, all this stuff I'm doing now, I could just now apply the frameworks,
yeah,
into corporate. Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to explore
sure,
that more. So,
sure.
okay, you are known for making people a lot of money, like more than people could ever imagine making in their even lifetime. You make them money in that way. And I'd love to maybe talk about number one, how does that feel when you get to help someone kind of unlock their business in such a huge way? And then number two, just like what are you doing?
Um, well, I mean, obviously it feels really good. You want to, that's your goal. You want to, you want to be able to uh, deliver what you promised, and you want to be able to discover things that you didn't know and learn for yourself while you're doing that. Um, but my recipe is really simple. So the ebook I created that I talked about and that we can give to everybody is
Mhm.
called Why Customers Buy and How to Make Them Prefer to Buy from You. And it all gets down to that same thing. If you understand what motivates your customer to seek out a solution in the first place, what they tried that didn't work, and the optimal outcome they want, and this is the critical point, the experience they want to have when they get that outcome.
Love that.
That's where companies fall short. They miss delivering the experience. They think that the outcome is the most important part, but it isn't. And an easy analogy is a five-star restaurant. If you go to a five-star restaurant, the outcome you want is a great meal, and that's fine. But if they're snobby and the service is
Mhm.
terrible and the food is cold, it doesn't matter if you got a good outcome. Your experience was lousy and you're not going to go back. So you have to have both. But we're all human, and human beings judge things by experience more than outcome. You want to have both. So the major thing I think I contribute to people that helps make their products or services more successful is that I help them get the information, gather that from their actual customers. Then there are ways to use AI to amplify that and use that just to deliver the ideal outcome and the experience. And it has to be the combination of both that their customers want. And that's it. That's the whole recipe.
Wow. So good. And so when you're working with someone, how do you help them dissect what the thing is that they should be kind of like focusing on?
Well, it depends on the stage that they're at. Um, because let's say they're just starting out. They're going to have to talk to their customers to see if they're even interested in
Hmm.
that product or service. Um, so it all depends on the goal, but it's always the same. What do your customers want? What's the outcome they want is what you have. the product or service going to deliver that outcome and the experience? And when you listen to them, what are the what's the terminology, both logical and emotional, that they use when they talk about it? And
Mhm.
you've got to speak to them. Your messaging has to speak to them in that language as well, as much as possible, because people want to know that they're buying from someone who understands them. So, but it's really the same process for everyone. I mentioned the 4 points before.
Yeah.
What were you experiencing that led you to look into this? What have you tried before that didn't help you get the results you wanted? What is the optimal outcome you want? And what's the experience you want to have when you get that outcome? And if you can find those things out from your customers, which you can, anybody can, then you're going to be miles ahead of the game, and your competitors will have no idea what you did that was different because they're still back there focusing on features and benefits.
Yeah, and while like so many people are just creating products and services in a vacuum, you're like, no, you've
Yeah,
got to talk to the people that are buying from
yeah,
you. I love
yeah.
that. Yeah, it's so good. Okay, so what do you think? I'm hosting a future of leadership event in next month, and what do you think, in your opinion, is the future of leadership based on what your kind of like viewpoint is?
To me, I think leaders, it's not delegation as much as it is. Um, I think you want to create an environment of shared experience. There has to be someone in charge, but instead of just dictating, just like you have to listen to your customers to develop better products and marketing, you really have to be able to listen to your employees and your staff members to know what's best for your team as a whole. So I think leadership needs to go uh, more in that direction, where there isn't one supreme leader.
Hmm.
There is a leader, but they're an engaged and interested leader.
So good. And what would be your number one piece of advice for people on doing the thing?
Um, you know, my number one piece of advice would be to contradict a piece of advice that you've heard for so many years, which is, if you just do the thing you love and stick with it, you'll be successful and be wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. And it isn't true. Um, and if you watch Shark Tank, you'll know it isn't true, because not everybody gets a deal. So you have to find an intersection of something that you really enjoy, and where there's a market that's big enough and that market is willing to pay. And when there's an intersection between those three things, then you can find something that you can do and really enjoy. You don't have to love every single minute. You do want to enjoy what you do overall. But I'll use myself as an example. My hobby is nature photography, and I spend a lot of hours in lagoons and mountains and forests and stuff photographing animals and wildlife and birds. But if I tried to make that into a career, all I have to do is look at the careers of most photographers who've tried to do that, and they struggle because, whether I like it or not, people don't buy nature photography. And even art, only a few, there are a lot of great artists, and you can go to galleries and see a lot of great art, but probably no more than 10%, probably even 5%, of working artists really make a living doing it. So you can't that advice of just find what you love and do it, that can be a disaster. But find something that you really like and where there's a big enough market with enough revenue to pay for it, then you can build a really nice, solid life around it.
Wow, so incredible. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been amazing having you on. Please share with everyone how they can learn more about you. And then we want the book.
Okay, so the book is on my homepage at licensinglab.com. Just go there. The only thing on my homepage is the offer to get that book for free.
Oh, great. Oh, good. We get to
So you
see
can't
that
miss it.
too.
There's nothing else to
Nice.
confuse you. When you get the book and you go through it, that will put you on my list and you'll get propaganda. No, I send out a couple emails a week with different ideas and sometimes some offers. I don't send out my nature photographs, but yeah, that's the way to stay in touch with me.
I love that. Well, what's coming alive for you after just this conversation? Is there anything that's coming up?
Um, I'm trying to think if there are, but certain things I can't talk about because I'm under NDA especially when I develop products for companies. Um, the most exciting, so I still do professional inventing, but as a sideline. When you place an invention, you don't see royalties for about 2 years. That's how long it takes to manufacture something, get it on
Mm.
major store shelves and Amazon. Anyway, I have something for the barbecue industry that I really love a
Oh,
lot. And one of the biggest companies in the industry is looking at that. And I'm starting to do some new trainings and one-to-one consulting with coaches, consultants, and content experts to help them substantially increase their sales without having to spend any more than they're already spending on marketing to do it. So there's no like crazy ad costs or
wow.
new things. It's all done with no cost. So those are the two things I'm the most excited about.
That's amazing. Well, it's been so incredible talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on. And
I
I'm excited for the listener because I feel like I'm excited. I want to listen back to this now.
Well, I had a great time. I always enjoy
Oh,
talking with you, Stacey. And what I like is that you come at things from a different angle that really reveals things that the typical question, well, what's the best way to make more sales or whatever? Those questions don't reveal much.
mhm.
And you ask questions that really peel back the layers and reveal the heart of things. So it's always enjoyable to talk with you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much for joining everyone. Do the thing. Don't wait for opportunity. Create it. And hey guys, have you checked out my Facebook group yet? Go to dothethingcollaboration.com.